So I've been fighting this cold, and I just want to pass off some information to other people. And the information is about cold medication. So everybody has NyQuil, and everybody swears up and down by it and all that kind of stuff. Like, a lot of people don't do the whole, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Thanks. They don't do the whole knockoff brand stuff, like instead of buying NyQuil, you buy nighttime cold medication that's liquid. It comes in the same looking bottle. The only thing that's different is the label. Some people don't do the whole, like instead of Benadryl, they do Benahist. All that kind of stuff. God, that is just great looking. I will admit, Texas, you have given me some astonishment and amazement at your sunrises and sunsets. They're very different. God, this guy in the Jeep is just like, I gotta get to work. So I wanted to talk a little about beliefs. Beliefs are something that's absolutely ridiculously weird to me. Like, belief, it seems like I believe in, like, I know the definition is to put stock in or follow whatever information it is or something like that. Like, it's weird to me because you have, like, the faith side of it, which is, I believe, so there's really no substantial proof except for maybe little tiny bits and pieces. Like, I'm just going to use Christianity as an example. And Jesus of Nazareth did exist. He's a dude that we can dig up. We exhumed a body, and we went, okay, this guy did walk the planet. Whether he was the Messiah or not, can't tell that. Yeah. Did he turn water into wine? Well, there's nothing different in his genetic structure, so as far as we know, there's nothing crazy about him. Was he a dude? Yes. Did he walk the planet? Yes. Was he the Son of God? Can't say. He did exist as a person, but when people say things like, I don't believe in global warming, it makes me angry, to say the least, or it upsets me, because there's things like, if I drop something out of my hand, does gravity exist? You know, I believe in gravity, because you can actually say that, I believe in gravity. I don't know why. It should be, gravity exists whether you like it or not. Flat out. Like, the Earth is going to shit whether you like it or not. Flat out. Recycling doesn't do as much as you think it does. Flat out. It's true, because we do ship over giant blocks of plastic that are bigger than fucking cars. Yeah, we ship over giant blocks of plastic to, like, China and stuff, and they don't even get to use it because it's such cheap crap plastic that we don't do anything with it. But yeah, we have plastic or recycling that doesn't do too well and all that kind of stuff, and we have mounds and mounds of data that talk about weather changes and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I do know that the weather goes through these shifts. Like, every so often the weather goes through a cycle. And the weather going through this cycle, there is another ice age coming and all that kind of stuff. But global warming is a little different from that. When people say, oh, thanks Obama for global warming, yeah, you're just fucking dumb. This has been something that's been happening for a long, long time. When we do things like light an entire fucking oil field on fire because some idiot can't do his goddamn job. So when people say things like, well, I believe in blah, 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 or I don't believe in global warming, I believe in the law of gravity as in the context of the definition in the Webster's Dictionary. Do I believe spiritually in gravity? I guess. I kind of have to, considering every time I drop anything out of my hands or I decide to, I don't know, remove my feet from the ground, everything falls. Does gravity affect time? Yes. So, when you say things like global warming doesn't exist, it's kind of false, especially since we do things like, hey, let's test the carbon content in the air. Then we'll do it every day for about, I don't know, 2, 3, 10 years, maybe 30 years. Yeah, it's been about 30 years since the 80s. We kind of noticed something. Temperatures are getting hotter, period. You can look at an almanac from the 70s and then look at an almanac from now. Look at the Farmer's Almanac, and you'll notice the temperature has been increasing and decreasing. So a lot of people think global warming is everything just gets hot and the polar ice caps melt. That's actually not true. Things get more out of whack. So think of it as balance, right? So I have a fulcrum and a 2x4 with 2-pound weights on either side. I push on one side and it starts going one way, and it'll balance the other, and it'll go one or back, so it doesn't really hit the ground, or let's say it's really high up in the air and it doesn't fall apart, but the swings are mild. Then I add a pound weight to the other side. Like I add more force to one side. Not weight, but force. Okay, energy. Energy is really what it is, what it's all about. So I add more energy to one side. As I'm adding more energy to one side, I push it down harder. What happens when it comes back? It starts getting worse. So let's say one represents summer and the other represents winter. Everything in the middle doesn't happen as long. More energy makes things worse. So when we do things like put this giant blanket of CO2 or carbon monoxide in the atmosphere, all that energy that's supposed to escape gets worse. So your hot air pressure or hot air zones gets hotter. And the cold gets colder. And eventually, one might just envelop the other. Like when we had an ice age. That happens. I get it. We'll probably have one another day. We'll probably start fucking with the weather too at some point. The whole chemtrail thing, I'm not really sold on that. I hope that police officer is not following me. Yeah, I saw him. But that kind of thing is just, when people say global warming doesn't exist, I laugh at you. I wish I was more like you. Ignorance is bliss, and when you don't know about anything, you don't know what's happening, and you kind of just think it happens for no reason, which in all actuality, it does. When people think, you know, hey, okay, Russia, for instance, hey, a merry-go-round. It's awesome when you're holding on, and it's awesome when your friends are spinning you, and there's more force applied to it. So let's put a little scooter up to it and use that as our power, our propulsion. What the fuck do you think is going to happen when you have more force? You're going to fly off. You're going to fall the hell off because you don't have the strength to hold yourself on. Because you, being let's say 150-pound small guy, right? He's like 5'5", 150 pounds, so he's stacked for a small guy. And so he's pretty fucking burly. But even then, that 150-pound guy, at that amount of force, weighs what? 350 pounds? 400 pounds? Something like that. If you do the math, it winds up being really, really heavy.